So I have to say, this is a pretty interesting because this is my first time here, and the quality of stories has been great. So you'll have to give me a pass if this is less than great.
Will we?
I don't know. It's your choice. So I did grow up on farms. We grew up very poor in western Montana and eastern Washington. My dad always stressed, work hard, do your best. This is what you do. And so when I was 10 years old, he also said, it's time for you to get a job. And so the best place to get a job is for the nearest farmer. And so I started with the nearest farmer, shoveling goat barns. Goats are not the cleanest smelling animal, but you do your best job, and hopefully it leads to the next promotion. The next promotion is hauling hay. And at the time, these bales were, 65, 70 pounds. I was 12, 13 years old. The bale was probably almost my weight, But you very quickly learn there's a proper way to haul hay, proper way to throw it up on the truck, and then there's the improper way to haul hay, because then you eat it all in your face. But eventually, with some skill, you become better at it, and that leads to the next promotion, which was a full-time gig, working for a farmer instead of working for all the farmers around. And so that was really exciting for me, because now I'm working for a farmer, there, and he was well respected in the neighborhood, but he had me haul hay, because this is what kids did in those days, is we hauled hay. But eventually you become good enough at it, and they say, well, I think you're ready to graduate to driving a truck. Oh, wow. When you're 14 years old, you're driving a truck, on the highway hauling the hay. This is great news. This is great stuff. And eventually you move on to driving a swather. Now, a swather is this beautiful implement. It's probably my favorite farm implement, and I've driven them all now, to drive. But, you have a 15-foot header. You're mowing down the grass. You can see this grass coming, and it gets funneled into the center of the swather, goes through a conditioner. It's beautiful. It's like mowing your grass, except when you look behind, you can really tell you've done something. And it's awesome, because you can really feel it. Well, this farmer also grew bluegrass. And bluegrass is the type of lawn seed that most people have in the East, especially. And so bluegrass is a crop that's really only grown in eastern Washington very much. But every year, you wait until it gets semi-ripe, and if you wait too long, you'll knock the seed out when you swath it. And so what we would do is we would swath it at night. And you would swath it at night and leave these windrows down where it would dry a little bit more, and then he would come by with the combine to combine these windrows that you just cut. And then the seed would go into the bulk tank, and the bulk tank seed would eventually go to the farmer's market, and he'd be rich, and I would get $2 an hour. But because you're swathing at night, now you're looking at your 15-foot header is dark, it's dusty, dirt's flying all over the place, it's hot, it's the middle of the summer, and you really don't know what you're seeing. The grass is about this tall, and so you're just swathing, and you're moving along fairly well. Well, the other thing my dad always told me is, if you have a problem, fix it. Get out there and do it. And that was always part of working on a farm, is that things were always breaking. You had to figure out how to fix it. Sometimes the farmer was there and he'd tell you how to do it. Other times you just had to figure it out. And generally, most mechanical things aren't too complicated, at least not on the farm. And so here I was, middle of the night. I've been doing this for weeks on end, swathing these fields. It was like 2 a.m, and I hit a deer. A deer was on the ground in the grass. I never saw it. Went right into the swather. It was a total mess. I was miles away from the homestead or anything like that. So what do? You stop, obviously. You had to put it out of its misery. It wasn't dead. You drag it out of the header, put it somewhere else, and fix what was broken. And I can remember that very clearly. It was quite the event. But probably the thing I remember most at the end was I got the swather going. I finished swathing. The sun came up, and after the sun started coming up, everything started getting too warm. You're going to start knocking seed out, so you stopped. And then that's when I would go back to bed. And I went to the farmhouse. I can remember taking the shower that day. And this was true every time. You take a shower and you would actually see rivers of dirt and mud going down, because it was a dirty job. And I can remember on that day thinking, I think my dad would have been proud of me today.